4 huge games, 8 quarterbacks. Who do you trust the most? It's trust issues. We're using the Miami Heat, Miami Vice facts there. First up, Rams at 49ers, Week 3 matchup. Went to the Rams, even though Purdy put up a 137 passer rating. Brew, that's the second best by any quarterback in a loss. I mean, what can Purdy do, you know? Trying to carry
Goff can throw 5 picks and win. Purdy can't even win with this.
Brew, who do you trust more, Purdy or Stafford?
This really is a tough question because Stafford, I do think is really good. I think he's a tier 2 quarterback. I think most people agree with that except Nick. I think he's tier. Well, Nick, I think you said.
No,
tier
I mean,
2.
Brew's got 10 guys in tier 2.
No, I'm not. I didn't.
You did
verify.
more than that.
We didn't go through all.
We
10.
did go through
We didn't
all
go through
of
all
it.
10.
Yeah.
But what's his name? Stafford is in there. All right.
With Purdy.
And he's really good when he's got his Avengers. All right. There's no question about that. Cooper Kupp and Puka Nacua. And he's on a tear. Last 4 games, he has been great. I think he got 10 touchdowns, no picks. So he's playing great football. Still, give me Brock.
Yeah.
All right, because, Coach, when they played in Week 3 and Brock didn't have McCaffrey, Debo, or George Kittle, and he put up the numbers that you saw on that screen, 137 passer rating, 3 touchdowns, even ran for almost 50 yards, and outplayed Matthew Stafford. Now, Stafford didn't have some guys, too, but Stafford struggles when he doesn't have his guys. But that's actually a good game for him to not have his guys. So I'm going to go with Purdy. I also think, Coach, that San Francisco's defense, they showed me something last week. Now, can they keep it up? They haven't been great this year. But last week they played well. Did they figure something out? You know, and Purdy did it last week with some of the injuries against a Chicago defense that I think is better than the Rams. So I think both will play a really good game, but I'll take Purdy in there.
Yeah, it's incomprehensible to trust Purdy more than Stafford to me. I think Stafford is one of the great quarterbacks in this league, and I think Brock Purdy, we are finding out how good he is or isn't. And so I put Mahomes in a class by himself, and I put Stafford in that exact same group that Allen, Lamar, and Burrow are in.
Can I just be argumentative? We had
Sure.
a similar question about when Purdy had to play Caleb. And
no, we didn't.
similar, in the same vein, we compared the two quarterbacks.
It was more to prove. That was that.
But we were comparing the two quarterbacks. Okay, it was in the same universe where we were comparing the two quarterbacks. And I feel like you had a similar refrain that, like, you believed in Caleb overall more. No, am I wrong? Am I misremembering?
Yes, because the conversation then was more to prove, right. And it was about Brock's contract and Caleb being guaranteed to be the Week 1 starter last year.
Okay.
So
I'm misremembering it.
Yeah.
That being said, Brock went out there and balled, and Caleb didn't do anything. But it's like nothing moves your opinion on Brock.
I haven't said anything about Brock. I'm talking about Matt Stafford right now.
But we're talking about if Purdy comes out, he's already outplayed him once.
So you're going to switch your whole quarterback wins philosophy on this one? In that game, Brock
yes,
Purdy was better?
if you've had the second best quarterback rating in a loss this year,
but the best was Joe Burrow, and after that game, the best was Joe Burrow after a Ravens game.
I'm moving on Burrow a little bit.
Eventually, but not when Burrow had that. So what? Listen,
the question I have for you is this: Can Brock do anything
to make me trust him more than Matt Stafford? No,
then
not
what
tonight.
Are we doing? Then it's really frustrating. Maybe I'm frustrated with this segment overall, but Brock could go out having 4 touchdowns, no interceptions, and Stafford could have 1 touchdown and lose the game. And we'll be like, I still don't believe. Then, like, what are we doing?
Right, so let me
just stop talking about Brock Purdy. It's driving me bonkers.
Okay, go ahead, Coach.
I like that.
I'm sorry, it's just it feels like a conversation that goes nowhere. It's just we're just constantly spinning.
Well, it was that you wanted to see Purdy come back, right, in games, and he did that and did it in playoff games. But then that wasn't.
And Coach, I'm sorry. I'm going to answer this because if we shouldn't do it, then we shouldn't put it in the TV show. But if it's going to be in the show, then I'm going to answer the question.
I know.
You are right, Brew, that the things I wanted to see from Brock, I did see some of them, and it did move my opinion on him. You are now asking it to move to a place I probably think as highly of Matt Stafford as anyone in the media. I think Coach agrees with me on him, actually, and I'm very curious what Coach is going to say on this. There is nothing when the Chiefs play the Texans in 8 days. There is nothing C.J. Stroud can do in that game to make me trust him more than Patrick Mahomes. Sure. It can't happen. Now, can he do it over years? Could there be more? Sure. But is there?
So you trust Stafford because of what he's done in the past? He's won a Super Bowl.
I think you're putting it. I played against Stafford, coached against Stafford. It always surprised me that that organization wasn't better than it was with him there, because I really felt like he was an elite level quarterback, and for him to be able to go and win a Super Bowl and show that's really where he belongs, I thought was a really positive thing, because it matches talent. When you look at what he's done over the last 4 games, from a trust perspective for this game, the 10 touchdowns, the no picks. You look at Brock Purdy, they've lost 3 out of 4. They beat the Bears team that's reeling with a new head coach. So you got to put that in a little bit of perspective too. The thing that's interesting to me about this game for Stafford, just as an aside, he's never gone 5 games in a row without throwing a pick in 17 years. So this will be the first time in 17 years he has a chance to go 5 games in a row without throwing a pick. That would help me trust him more as well.
Is there anything Purdy can do tonight to make you trust him more than Matt Stafford?
I don't know if this one game is going to totally change my trust issues for Purdy.
Seems reasonable.
I was really hoping that. I think Brock has still done a lot of good things. I don't know if Brock has totally answered the question for the 49ers that you are our franchise quarterback, and it's going to be really interesting at the end of the season to see whether they feel he's answered the question.
Seems reasonable. I don't know. I don't know if that infuriates you as much as you were mad at me, but it seems like a reasonable answer.
Just trying to spice
I like the
segment
Tiger.
up.
No, you weren't.
I like when you let
told
the
the
Tiger
audience
out,
the segment's dumb.
I love
that we
when you
shouldn't
let the
talk
Tiger.
about the guy.
He
I didn't
did
say
seem
it
a
was
little
dumb.
angry.
I said maybe I'm frustrated with the segment.
It's a new segment.
The
Are we
segment is
workshopping it?
Heat.
Those are Lions. Sunday afternoon, Superman versus the Civilian. Who leads the league's best offense? That's not supposed to be a question. Superman versus the Civilian. Who leads the league's best offense? This season, Goff's 12-1. They score the most points, but Josh has more touchdowns. Also has a receiving touchdown that we don't necessarily believe in. Who do you trust more here, Nick?
Go ahead, bro.
Well, Goff plays the safer game, and he has the better players around him. So you would think you should trust him. He's also facing, the lesser of the 2 defenses,
right.
I believe. But I'm going to go with Josh. And I know, look, Josh has been reckless throughout his career. This year he's been better. But the reason I'm going with Josh is because for them to have a chance to win this game, he has got to be great. All right, Goff, that's not the case. And I think Josh has embraced that. So I think Josh knows I've got to get it done virtually every game, and he's really embraced it. And like anybody, I think he wants the MVP. He knows he probably needs to play well tonight. I'm not saying they necessarily win, or not tonight, but Sunday. They win, but I'm going to go with Josh on this one.
The thing that makes me trust Josh now at this point is the way that he's protected the football. And the fact that he only has 5 interceptions this year is amazing. And then you have Goff with his one game where he's got the 5 interceptions. That's problematic. The fact that Buffalo has scored 30-plus points in 7 straight games. And when you look at Detroit, they've only scored 30-plus points 6 games total this season. So there's that element offensively. And I think you said that Buffalo has the better defense.
Lesser defense.
Well, I disagree with that based off of where all the injuries are. There's 18 guys on IR. They're missing almost half the guys on defense that account for their leading tacklers. So defensively, this is a huge opportunity for Buffalo, and they're also getting 2 offensive starters back in
Kincaid and Keon Coleman.
And Keon Coleman.
Yep.
So for this game, I'd lean Josh.
Yeah, I look at this matchup incredibly similarly to the one we just talked about. Like, I look at Goff as this type of quarterback that is a mirror to his situation, and that can be in Detroit. That's great right now. It's great. Like he's not going to be dropped into a great situation and drag it down, but I don't think when things get off for him, he's going to be able to elevate. Josh clearly can. And Josh, to me, is one of the superhero quarterbacks in this league. Trust is a tough one because he is more likely than most quarterbacks to have the what the hell are you doing game, but you can't say he's more likely than Goff this season when, to your point, Goff had a 5-interception game that could have been an 8-turnover game if things went differently. And so this is a spot where I think the Bills have the decided quarterback edge. I think Detroit has the edge everywhere else. And defensively, I understand your point on the injuries, but I think Buffalo's defense is, I don't want to say smoke and mirrors. Buffalo's defense, to me, is a really good defense, except for against the best offenses. I don't think they have enough talent on the back end against the best offenses. They can get exposed, and that's why we've seen the games, whether it was Baltimore that ran up the score on them, the Rams that ran up the score on them. Houston didn't run up the score, but they beat them. I think Buffalo's defense is really well coached, where I'll give McDermott credit. I think it has a good D-line. But if you have multiple good to very good receivers, I think you can really make hay on them. So I trust Allen more. I like Detroit in the spot.
Steelers and Philly, who are favored by almost 6 points. Russ, 6-0 if you count the playoff game, Coach, against the Eagles in his career. And the Steelers haven't won in Philly in decades. Who do you trust more here, Jalen or Russ?
I'm going to go with Russ on this one. Yeah, especially in this situation where Jalen, I don't know where his mind's at. You know, and I think Jalen's a great leader, but is he feeling like I need to force it to AJ? Because Buffalo, you brought up Buffalo just a moment ago. We saw with them, it seemed like Josh Allen, he's better now that he's just getting into the open guy. Yes. Versus thinking, man, Stefan's going to be in my ear. He is our best receiver.
100%.
I'm looking for him. And is Jalen thinking, even just if it's for a game, I'm looking for AJ? Because there were, even in the last game, AJ, there's times when he threw the touchdown to Devontae Smith, AJ was open. He could have hit AJ. He hit Devontae. So now is he just looking for AJ to his detriment? And Russ, look, Russ is playing good football. And I get, it's only been 7 games. I get to thinking that maybe he'll, you know, at some point he'll kind of go back to what he was. But he was good last year, you know, pretty good last year. And this year he's been great. So I'm going with Russ, Coach.
Yeah, I'm torn on this.
You want to say neither.
Well,
you want to say neither.
Well, what I like about Russ is that he's gone through it in the sense that he's had the ultimate level of success in Seattle, and then he has experience in Denver, and now he's kind of reclaiming his status in Pittsburgh, and he's been through all those things. Where to me, Jalen is still going through that learning curve, and part of that learning curve is dealing with difficult players and dealing with difficult situations and dealing with the pressure and the expectations of the big contract and the guys complaining about the ball. And I don't know if he's shown that he deals with that as well as he should. And this noise that they created, to me, is really unfortunate, because I do think they're gonna cater to the squeaky wheel. And against this Pittsburgh defense, that could be a real issue.
I don't know if they will. There was a very interesting quote out of Philadelphia today, and the quote was, "What you can say about Jalen Hurts is Jalen Hurts wins." And that's a direct quote, and that quote was from Jalen Hurts. He went third person on it, and talking about, like, hey, this is the style I play. I don't think Jalen's going to cater. Especially, this is the one thing that is potentially good about Brandon Graham's reporting, that Jalen and A.J. Brown aren't as close as they once were. He's not going to feel obligated. If that's your best friend on the team and he's super frustrated, then it might be like, man, you know, if he's like, man, I've been mad at this guy for a year anyway. Like, don't care, we're winning. Flip side with Russ has played really well and shocked me. Like, not surprised me, shocked me the level he's played this year. But I know last week in the second half they turned it on. This offense is not the same without George Pickens. And it's hard to trust Russ when George Pickens isn't a part of it, and it doesn't. Go ahead, Coach.
I was just going to ask you, did the over-under on targets to A.J. Brown go up?
Well, you know what? As I am dialed into the betting lines, the individual player prop target totals. I don't even know.
I'm really curious whether Vegas jumped on targets.
I don't think, to be fair, I don't think you can bet individual targets. I do think you can bet individual catches. Maybe it jumped a bit, but I just think the Steelers' passing offense without Pickens
is a big loss.
Yeah, a significant loss. And as I said during Must Win, and don't forget, Wilds, I have a point for next week's Must Win because of this. Thank you. The Steelers' game of the year is next week. And that always worries me for a team who has a game this week. Next week, the Steelers play the Ravens. They win that game. They win the division. So for this week's game, I'd say Jalen.
Packers in Seattle Sunday night. J-Lo versus Geno, who is in first place.
Through this.
He's won 4 straight. His numbers look stellar. At least the completion percentage looks stellar there.
Yeah.
Broody, who do you trust more?
Now,
here?
whose numbers? J-Lo's look stellar.
Well, I had the completion.
Geno's are okay.
73% is pretty
decent.
good.
That top number's pretty good.
Yeah.
Yeah, well, I'm not a QB wins guy.
You are, though.
No,
you are, though.
I mean, I look at the TD, the touchdown. I'm going with J-Lo, of course. But look at the numbers. Yeah. I mean, passer rating. This is Geno's, moment, right? He's 4-0. They're leading the division. And that's it. 4 touchdowns,
They're
2
like
picks.
the Eagles. They're
4-0.
winning.
I'm about the individual performer in this case. And J-Lo.
Thank you,
J-Lo. And we got another graphic, I think. Do we have the graphic on his improvement? Coach,
he loves
from week 11 on, J-Lo turns it up. We saw it last year. He's done the same thing this
Green
year.
Bay turns it down.
No, they
stopped letting him throw the ball.
One of those was a blowout. That's why I can't remember which game, but that's why they didn't throw it as much. I got J-Lo in this. Look, Geno is a nice quarterback. I like Geno. I just think on this show, he's elevated to something he's not.
He blew out the
But
Niners,
I think he's really
right?
good.
That was the game?
Yeah, and that's fine because it's a team game. It can
Geno
happen.
Smith?
Yeah, he's a good
We
quarterback.
talk about him for 4 minutes
Well,
a week.
Nick loves him. Nick's got him tier 2.
I don't have him tier 2.
Good.
No,
Good.
I think that I have learned there's a quarterback that has reclaimed their career that you must always have one of those guys as he actually still stinks. And it was Baker, and then it shifted. Once Baker came on the show and you had to apologize to him, someone else had to be the subject of your ire, and it became poor Geno Smith. And it all started, Wilds, if you remember, with Geno's first game in Seattle because he replaced your guy Russ and he beat him. And ever since then, he's had a target on his back.
I just have a reasonable view. How good is Geno?
In this game, I
only
trust.
got 14 touchdowns and 12 picks, right?
Thank you,
the
Coach.
numbers aren't exactly jumping off the page.
Well, listen, right, but we're not
played
comparing.
13 games, he got
we're not
14
comparing
touchdowns.
him to the best quarterback in the league in this game. I trust Geno more.
But you think J-Lo is better?
I think J-Lo has a higher potential. This season, this moment, I don't know if he's better. I think I would certainly rather have Jordan Love than Geno Smith moving forward. There's no question about it. But right where they are in their careers right now, I don't know. I don't know if this year in the playoffs, Jordan Love is a better bet than Geno Smith. I really don't.
Jordan was pretty good in the playoffs.
No, 100%.
I'm going with who the teams trust, right? So Geno Smith, they throw 35 times per game. So they trust Geno Smith.
They got to.
Now, here's what the deal is with J-Lo, right? So he had 30-plus attempts in 4 out of the first 5 games, and he's had 30-plus attempts in 1 out of the last 6.
But
13 or less completions in 3 out of the last 4 games. So what's the team doing? They're just putting a little bit of Hurts on them.
They got a nice run game.
Exactly.
Josh Jacobs.
And those receivers are going to be complaining.
They got the most drops in the league, too. You know that.
So that's why the completions are so down?
That's why the completion percentage is down. J-Lo all the way.
There we go.
Thanks for watching. Subscribe here to get more from the show and to check out clips from other shows on FS1.